It's a wonderful restaurant.
Yeah.
I think of that quite often. Anyway, today's episode of Werewolf Radar is brought to you by Another You by Monstroco. That's right. For just a small monthly fee, Monstroco will place another you into your life to take care of the things that you don't want to. Taking out the garbage, eating glass, divorcing your bitch of a husband. Another You is always one step ahead of you, taking care of those things you'd just rather not, and occasionally watching while you sleep. Another You by Monstroco. What the fuck?
That's what I'm talking about, Monstroco. Helping me become more efficient.
And the thing is, you'll barely see Another You. Like, it'll be in the house, but it's designed in such a way that when you get up to go into a room, it gets up to go into a different room. So you'll like hear it around, like doing stuff and doing the dishes. And it's not like it runs and hides from you. It's just...
No, it's like works out when someone lives in your walls.
Right, exactly. It just works out that way. You know, you need to go into the kitchen. They need to go take the trash out real quick. And you know, occasionally you'll see them in your periphery. And again, that watching you sleep thing. But like for the most part, it's all benefits.
It's what is there's a term frogging. With a pH, that's when you live in somebody's walls.
It's true. That's the thing. I love that they gave it a cute little nickname, like it's a hobby. Like it's something you can pick up. It
seems like a cool product. I'm going to buy a couple of them. Do you think that's good or bad?
No. You do not get a couple of them. They will fight.
It's like... It's like having two beta fish.
Right, exactly. Now, if you want to get
start a multiplicity.
Yes, if you want to get Another You and like another, like your girlfriend wants to get another her, that's fine. They'll get along. But two Another Yous, you're asking for trouble. It also says that you may start to fade away, but like
that's already happening.
Yeah, and if it happens. If you do fully fade away, there's another you there. So it's fine. It all evens out.
Like you never left.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody will even know you were gone. Can I go first? I wish to go first.
Go first then.
By all means.
Okay, I want to tell you guys how you can unlock your superhuman abilities. I want to talk.
Okay.
Like
I've already tried radioactive rocks.
I've
tried being born different, and that didn't help.
I've been thinking about ESP, extrasensory perception.
Okay.
And the various forms that it takes. And more than that, I've been thinking about how can I hit the ESP gym, you know?
Right,
what can I?
You want to lift those Akashic weights in the astral fitness center.
Yeah. So I found a few articles. I got one here from liveabout.com. This is titled How to Develop ESP and Psychic Abilities.
All right, let's do this then.
Here are some tips for developing your ESP. They say those who research ESP suspect that most, if not all, people have this remarkable ability to varying degrees. Do you guys think that you have some degree of ESP?
I think I'm good at guessing what people are thinking.
Interesting.
But I don't think I have ESP. I think my belief is you're staring at something, you're in a situation, you're only going to have so many thoughts. And if you work with someone, for example, I know what my buddy Andrea is thinking pretty much whenever she's staring at something. And I can guess a lot what she's thinking.
But who's
so you just have socialization.
Yeah, exactly.
I can guess what other people are thinking a lot, but it's usually wrong. And I just call that anxiety. I just call that severe anxiety and kind of an oppression complex. And also, Roger, who's to say that when you guess those things correctly, what you think of as guessing isn't actually you picking up on the interconnected psychic web that connects us all. Maybe you are, in fact, you feel like it's your own thought, but maybe you're picking up a radio wave somewhere.
All right. You're saying I'm smelling their brain smells?
You're smelling their brain smells. And we'll actually get to that. There is a power that I hadn't heard of before, which is basically psychic smelling. You can like smell the future, which is crazy.
Like, like you smell if I'm going to make pasta later.
Yeah. What smells like someone eating spaghetti in the tub? What smells like marinara and lavender?
Depression.
These people say the ability is often likened to that of musical talent. Some people are naturally gifted with the ability to play and compose music, and practice makes them virtuosos. Others must learn and work to practice and be able to play an instrument even adequately or in the simplest way. But nearly everyone can learn to play.
Bunch of mid-ass human chuds.
To some degree.
What you're saying, though, is that everyone can be a recorder psychic.
Right. The same. They're saying everyone can learn to play to some degree. The same may hold true for psychic abilities. Here's what you need to know about developing your psychic abilities. Okay. So first up,
listeners, write this down.
Write this down, or automatically write it with your mind.
Yeah, because you're going to be psychic after this.
Mm-hmm. Number one, you got to acknowledge the ability. Stop hiding from it. Stop pretending that you're not an X-man or woman or an X they them. Just let it in. First step is to acknowledge that ESP is present within you to develop. Although this might sound silly, begin by telling yourself that you are psychic. Make it a mantra that you repeat to yourself daily and often.
Shall we do one right now?
Yes.
On the count of three? One.
Roger, you are psychic.
Nate, you are psychic.
Jordan, you are not the father.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yes. All right. You are psychic.
Make it a mantra. Repeat it to yourself daily and often. Hide behind a bush and jump out and yell it at strangers.
For real, or is that just a laugh?
No, it's just me.
All right, that's pretty solid.
But it does seem to fall within.
If you're LARPing Vampire the Masquerade, that's kind of what you're doing.
Yeah, a little bit. Also, if you're LARPing Vampire the Masquerade, stop it. Stop doing that.
The game blew my mind, Jordan. I can't help if I need to experience it outside the PC.
Just keep it on the pen and paper, folks. It is now known that when a person learns something, whether it's physical skill like wood carving or a mental exercising like memorizing poetry through repetition, his or her brain physically changes. It rewires itself to accommodate that task. This process of rewiring your brain for psychic ability begins with your belief in it. You have to believe to achieve. So what are you? You are psychic.
You are psychic, right. Nate.
You are psychic, Jordan.
It takes time for the subconscious to be able to communicate with the conscious mind. And this is the best way to do this, is to simply start thinking about it, says Russell Stewart in an article for Psychic Journal.
Okay.
Sure. Psychic Journal.
Yeah. The only magazine that appears bi-weekly in your subconscious.
This feels a little reductive in terms of like crisscrossing and creating new neural pathways.
Yes.
But that's the truth even about like a lot. I think the closest thing this would be
I understand would be this is how it works. It's a very layman sort of way of describing it, but
yeah,
there's a lot more biology.
This is step
I don't
one.
think there is. I think it might be a language acquisition like thing. I think ESP is a type of language where, like, if you just keep saying, if you every day you have a few sentences in another language, sooner or later you're going to be able to speak another language.
Interesting.
Okay, well then why does Duolingo not have ESP as an option?
Because they have
awesome?
Vulcan. And when you study the Vulcan, then you may have the ESP button.
Maybe we need to develop Duolingo for psychic abilities, where it's like, try to move an apple for 30 seconds a day.
I think we just did.
Did.
But our owl has a third eye, and it's red because it's smoking weed.
This brings us to our next point. Practice. How do you get to Carnegie Hall? You translocate via psychic ability. It says, like a difficult sport or musical instrument, ESP requires diligent practice. Unlike sports or music, however, your progress can be hard to measure because of the elusive nature of psychic phenomenon. Fair enough. Frustration level can be high, but the key is to not give up. Never give up.
Okay.
Folks, here are some actual ways to practice this. ESP exercises from various sources. Number 1, scanning. 2 people, preferably 2 people who haven't met before, stand about 4 to 6 feet apart. I don't know how you're going to rig that up, but
Sir, we and you have never met. Is that correct? I need you to stand about 4 to 6 feet away from me so I can scan you with my brain.
Look, I know this is weird, but we're both King Super shoppers, right?
No, but that's maybe the truth there, Jordan. While you're in line at the King Supers,
sure,
you're proper distance away, and then you scan them.
But the other person has to be doing it as well,
or else it's a type of assault.
Well, no, that's
it's an invasion, right? It's a breaking and entering.
Yeah. Look at Magneto. He's a criminal.
No, but it's an activity you do together.
Skull.
Yeah. Okay. So also, Magneto isn't a psychic. I know that. Please don't at me. God, I'm going to get dragged in the X-Men subreddit for this one.
I'll include your Twitter handle on the description.
So 4 to 6 feet apart from each other, facing each other, eyes closed. Each person then closes their eyes, takes a moment to breathe, relax, and ground. Then visualize the other person as a ball of light or pure energy. Each looks with their inner eyes into the ball of light and scans the person opposite, top to bottom, bottom to top, noticing any words, images, colors, thoughts, sensations in their own body or anything at all that comes up when they are scanning. After a few moments, they share what they saw, looking for accuracy. This is also something that I think is important when you're dealing with shit like this. Sometimes it can feel like you're having an idea and you're like, where did that come from? It doesn't feel like I thought that idea. Pay attention to that shit. Maybe you're picking up on frequencies, you know?
Well, but isn't that also just creativity?
Is it?
I mean, it has to be at some level. Someone has to have the original idea.
I've definitely had thoughts that don't feel like they come from me, where, yes, my psychiatrist would say those are intrusive thoughts. Don't listen to the voices. But maybe they're not. What this book presupposes is maybe they're not.
These are welcome thoughts.
Next up,
they're not intruding anywhere.
Write 3 predictions for the next day.
All right, let's do this right now. Number 1, I eat a
peanut
taco.
Butter. 2, jelly. 3, bread.
Hang on, let me finish. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, be sure you're comfortable, and feet are firmly planted on the floor. So don't do this on a roller coaster. Don't do this on a trampoline. After a few deep breaths, project yourself into the next day. Is what it'll sound like.
All right.
See yourself following through on your plans for tomorrow. Look around you. Notice any colors or sensations. Write down your predictions and check back the next day.
That feels way too much like self-fulfilling prophecy to me.
I was gonna write down Rocket Man.
Sure.
So I'm not
if you're
sure.
If you write down like, I see myself eating ramen noodles, then the next day you might just be like, I really want some ramen. I'm gonna go get that.
Yeah, I mean, you probably wanted ramen already, so that was the plan, you know?
Maybe you need
like
Or if
how
you're like
often
me,
do you
that's all I
have?
have.
It's pretty rare that something genuinely novel happens in your day.
maybe you need to focus on things that are outside of your control. Maybe you need to be like a bird will touch me.
Ooh, that's a better prediction. You need to predict stuff like that, or else Nate is right. It's a mundane, self-fulfilling prophecy. You need to go out there and predict the movements of animals and assassinations of presidents.
Or like, I will get yelled at by someone in a red shirt.
Yes.
And then you're not allowed to go around picking fights with motherfuckers in red shirts. Because it won't count. Okay, moving on. The third way to practice it is with an online test.
Ooh.
Work with the many ESP tests that can be found online. Work in a quiet room without distractions. Try different tests and work with them repeatedly. Will one of you guys search for an online ESP test?
Yeah, I'm at psychicscience.org at /ESP3, and I am going to start the ESP test.
Okay, Roger's going to take an ESP test while I tell you guys the rest of them. Assess whether you're more successful at certain times of the day than others. Those are the tips from liveabout.com. We're next going to move over to blog.mindvalley.com with an article titled Unlock Your Superhuman: 7 Ways to Use Extrasensory Perception. First, they say, what is extrasensory perception? The definition describes your ability to receive and process information independent of your 5 senses. Because extrasensory literally means outside the senses, this phenomenon refers to, you guessed it, your 6th sense. You see dead people. ESP versus intuition. ESP is a more specific ability to perceive information beyond what the traditional senses can detect. Intuition, on the other hand, is often described as a gut feeling or an inner voice that guides you in making decisions. Something you got to remember is that whether you're looking at something or paying attention to something, you're constantly getting input in the form of, sounds, peripheral vision, even like smells, and the wind on your skin can sometimes make you aware of something that you weren't really paying attention to. So every once in a while, something will happen and you'll be like, I knew that was going to happen. And it'll be like, yeah, because you were, you're
bred to interpret possibilities.
Exactly.
I have my results in already.
Okay, go on.
Oh, wow.
Okay, I am not the father.
I knew you were going to say that.
I don't know what this means, but I got I did a 25 card deck to make it quick, and I try to take my time. I was just letting the answers try to come to me.
Sure.
Is it the squiggles, triangles?
Yes, exactly. It's your Bill Murray hitting on a student test. And I got 4 out of 25.
Okay, that's not great.
You're a low level psychic.
My Z number is negative 0.25.
Oh boy.
And my P is less than 0.820259.
Okay, this is why you got to be doing this every day. You got to be in there getting a sweat, pounding out those reps. Got to be in the mind gym, lifting those shapes.
And this was a clairvoyance test. This website also has psychic Q ability test, ESP test, which is what I should have took.
We'll try it again later.
All sorts of tests.
And we'll see if you can improve maybe.
Okay.
Anyway, difference between ESP. ESP is quite specific. Intuition, on the other hand, is more of a gut feeling, inner voice that guides you in making decisions. We all have experienced it to some degree. It's a matter of being open to it and listening to its guidance. The thing is, developing intuition can actually be a great way to improve your ESP. You must first learn to trust your inner voice and tap into your intuition. And as you deepen that skill, you may unlock you may unlock different abilities provided you have the experience points to purchase those abilities.
Nice.
It's a skill tree, huh?
Yeah. You may unlock your hidden extrasensory abilities along the way. So here's 6 types of ESP. Number 1, telepathy. Have you ever become so close to someone that it seems like you can tell what they are thinking? Or have you ever repeatedly said the exact same sentence at the same time as another person? It sounds annoying. Although you may not be a full-on telepath, if you've experienced this strange phenomenon, then you have a good idea of what telepathy is. Scientifically speaking, it's defined as, quote, the communication of impressions of any kind from one mind to another, independently of the recognized channels of the sense. Out of all the different types of extrasensory perception, telepathy is the most researched and popular. And also, we know for a fact that communicating silently between 2 things is possible. We do it every day with our phones. We're doing it right now on the internet, you know?
And I mean, you also do it just with your face.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Number 2, precognition. Precognition is the ability to see into the future. It comes from 2 Latin words, pre, meaning prior to, and cognito, meaning getting to know. So people who possess the gift of precognition can perceive information about events, people, locations, and scenarios before they actually occur. Although this ability conflicts with the fundamental subjective experience of time flowing from the past to the future, there is a large database of studies conducted under controlled laboratory conditions that prove the proponents of precognition are possible. This actually says are right, but I'm going to say possible because that's impossible to quantify.
Yeah, if you've got the arrow of time moving both directions, then you have to assume that nothing is possible or impossible.
Yes, there's actually, if you put in like proof of ESP into Google, some of the first things that you'll get are tons of CIA studies that have been recently released that have some pretty interesting results. If you're willing to filter through all of the bullshit.
The CIA went hard into it.
Oh yeah, they were fucking shooting. I mean, MK Ultra, they blasted Whitey Bulger with fucking LSD. And they were like, what do you see? And he was like, skeletons. And they were like, interesting. Number 3, retrocognition. What do we think retrocognition is? Any guesses?
Retrocognition is when you can see the past, which no one has recorded, or see someone's past, or...
Yes, you can see into the past. Correct, Roger. Oftentimes the distant past. People with this type of extrasensory perception can recognize people, places, and events from the past that they had nothing to do with. Some people think that maybe this is what seeing ghosts is brief bursts of retrocognition. It's the brain lighting up in some way that we don't understand, where it's just like, oh, I saw something from the past. Number 4, psychokinesis, which is a much cooler word for telekinesis. And we all know what this is. This is the one from superhero movies, you know, the Force, the Jedi whipping stuff around. Real psychokinesis is much less theatrical, they say, than what we see in the movies. Essentially, it is the ability of one's mind to have a direct effect on another object without the use of any physical energy. Coined by Henry Holt, it stands for mind and motion, or distant movement. ESP and psychokinesis have been studied by a pioneer of parapsychology known as Joseph Banks Rhine. His fundamental research on the topic has produced an abundance of evidence that the existence of the phenomenon can be considered proven, according to Joseph Banks Rhine.
Yeah, you know, I don't care how flashy it is. If you move a hat 4 inches with your mind,
it's pretty impressive.
That's crazy.
That's pretty wild. Yeah.
That's the next step up a ladder in human evolution.
Yeah. Next one is clairvoyance. Clairvoyance or clear seeing refers to the ability to see information about an object, person, scenario, location, or event in the past, present, or future using only extrasensory means. There's also a few different types of clairvoyance. There's clairsentience, which is the ability to feel sensations and emotions of another person without any external simulation. This is often paired with paranormal type activity like feeling the coldness of a ghost.
Yeah, it's usually the empathy kind of thing that psychics do when they go through haunted houses.
Exactly. There's clairaudience, which is the ability to hear auditory information through psychic and sixth sense hearing. There is clairalience, which is the psychic's ability to pick up on external impressions through the sense of smell. This is psychic smelling.
Nice.
This is when you smell the cigar smoke, or you smell someone's going to cook spaghetti in here, or has in the past. And then there's clairgustance, which is similar to the above. This type of ESP refers to the ability to receive outside information and psychic impressions from the sense of taste. That's right. Some people out here taste in the ghost realm.
That has to be horrifying.
I know,
to taste like some old world candy or something like black licorice out of nowhere.
So Brax hard candy.
So there's a lot more on this particular article. I'm going to wrap it up, but it does say some of the benefits of using ESP: improved decision making, better relationships, enhanced creativity, improved performance. Certain Olympic athletes claim to have used ESP to enhance their, get an extra foot on that hammer throw or whatever.
Fair.
Could you imagine if you could just pick up the shot put and rocket it into orbit using only your mind? You'd be unstoppable.
Truly, man. I would have that sweet shot put money, and then nothing could stop me.
Absolutely.
I do have the results of a psychokinesis test.
Oh, shit.
That is also on psychicscience.org. If you care, it seems to be a nice website to test some psychic abilities.
Check it out.
The first test, and we went over that. I'm not psychic in any way. I got 4 out of 25 guesses on the card deck. The second one was a psychokinesis test where a ball starts in a white line, and then you have a red side and a green side, and you try to move it to one side as it falls.
Interesting.
Right.
And
but this is not a physical thing.
No, this is a digital readout. So you are trying to manipulate a digital process, which I think can still happen. I'm moving the tubes of the computer around. The first one, I did this twice. The first one I got 10 red, 10 green, and I try to make them all hit red.
Okay.
On the second one, I got 13 red and 7 green. But I was trying to make them go to the green side.
Okay, well.
Your Z quotient remains the same.
Overall, very much so. So I'm not psychic. I would like you two to take the test.
You need to get an Abra and maybe a Ghastly, and you need to start working out at that psychic gym.
Well, this is the start of it. You started my psychic journey. I'm going to go to this website. I'm going to tell myself I'm psychic every day.
This was the day that we inadvertently created the supervillain that will come to be known as Psycho Roger. Because Psycho Mantis is copyrighted. Yes, exactly. Well, there you go. That's you can also use ESP to accelerate learning. You can use it for healing purposes. People have been known to use it to, scan the bodies of others and check for, blockages and problem areas and such. But
you can do your damnedest to bankrupt a casino.
Yes, exactly. There's any number of ways to use these powers, but you got to hit the gym. You got to hit the psychic gym. And that does it for my segment that I'm calling Joe Doe's Psychic Dojo.
Not bad. That's a fun one.
Thank you.
Nate, shall you continue this
Absolutely.
2024 edition of Werewolf Radar before we go back to 1978?
Yes, I will, but time being an arrow that goes both directions, I'll be traveling first to April 25th, 2023, from whence this article about an UFO came from. And then we should be traveling into a further past.
An UFO.
What y'all know about the 1964 Fishersville UFO landing?
I ain't never heard any of those
absolutely
words.
nothing.
I had not either. And I'm assuming most people haven't outside of Augusta County, Virginia.
Oh yeah, it's huge there. That's all they talk about.
Yeah. I mean, it actually is legitimately huge. Once we get there, you'll find out.
Interesting.
December 21st, 1964. Things are quiet in the Shenandoah Valley. Gunsmith Horace Burns is heading towards Fishersville from Staunton on Route 250 when his vehicle starts to mess up.
Uh-oh.
That is the terminology that they used.
It's messing up.
This car's messed up. I'm a journalist. What he's about to see will change the valley for the next 6 months. And I would say for quite a bit longer if they're talking about it in April of 2023.
Truly.
The story of Burns' encounter was published in several newspapers from the valley all the way to Richmond. But this version comes from the Flying Saucer Investigating Committee of Akron, Ohio.
Yes, the
FSIC.
Thank you.
Or FESIC.
Nice.
It's also the name of a giant.
Yes, indeed.
Is that one of those rock throwing ones that made the Hexagon Ireland beach?
No, he was a beer drinking giant.
Okay.
Yeah, he
I get my giant
with,
names confused. I apologize, giant listeners.
He hangs out with Mandy Patinkin and Wallace Shawn fighting the Black Pirate.
Mm-hmm.
The article states that Burns was near the Woodrow Wilson Center when he saw a metallic object coming from the north. And when it passed ahead of him, Burns said the engine of his car stopped. He claimed that his car came to an unnaturally quick stop, and he watched the craft land gently in a field about 100 yards back from the road. The article says Burns got out of the vehicle and watched the craft, which he described as, quote, an upside-down spinning top toy, end quote, and was about 125 feet wide and about 90 feet high. I read a different thing where the journalist referred to it as a 90-foot tall beehive UFO.
Oh, crazy.
Which is an interesting kind of weird, very strange shape for UFOs. Burns claimed to see a bluish glow from under the object, but he couldn't see any doors, windows, landing gear, or people inside. Probably couldn't see the people inside on account of no windows.
Yeah, that'll make it hard.
After about 60 to 90 seconds, the craft made a whooshing sound and flew straight up, according to Burns. He told his wife and decided to keep his sighting quiet until he saw a report by WSVA a few days later about a UFO club at Eastern Mennonite College, and he decided to share his story. I think WSVA is one of the news stations. It's WS Virginia or whatever.
That's for them to prove.
Jim Shipp of WSVA interviewed Burns about his sighting, and a professor at EMU who was in the UFO club went on the landing site with a Geiger counter. He reportedly picked up readings of over 600,000 counts per minute, and the sighting was reported to Project Blue Book at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
I don't think though, and mostly due to America, that we can really trust Geiger counters to tell us if something's been touched by a UFO. Like, you know how much radiation we've been throwing all willy-nilly Russia to?
Oh, but you think in 1964 in Virginia, you're going to have these massive readings?
That's a little bit rarer, but I think that the planet's radioactive.
Out of place.
Here's a quick thing about Project Blue Book. A little out of
place, though. Go on.
If it's your first day, Project Blue Book was formed in 1952 following Project Sign and Project Grudge. Those would be previous federally funded military UFO projects. The purpose of Blue Book was to investigate and explain reported sightings of UFOs and provide scientific explanations to the general public. Blue Book was created by which I think they did 50 some years later. Blue Book was created by the United States Air Force and operated out of the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio. Between 1952 and 1969, Blue Book would investigate over 12,000 UFO sightings, and 701 of them would be listed as, quote, unexplained, according to the official reports by the Air Force.
Okay.
They were busy. That's quite a few.
And that's a huge number, even in that small percentage, to be like, that's a lot.
That is not insignificant.
Blue Book investigated cases that were possibly threats to national security, and the Fishersville case was one of those. Sergeant David Moody had been with the program for about 4 years when he was sent to Fishersville, along with a few other agents. While Blue Book conducted their investigations, they tried to stay out of the public eye, but didn't shy away from the press when confrontation was inevitable. The Fishersville case, was interesting because Moody spoke to reporters several times, especially at the beginning of their investigation. As Moody and his agents continued to investigate, he began giving fewer and fewer interviews and began writing back to his bosses about the case.
Sure.
Moody, I assume you would, exactly.
Listen, I got to talk to you guys about something.
Moody had questioned Burns several times about his sighting, but the story never changed, and Moody determined that he was being fully credible. Even the director of Blue Book, Major Hector Quintanilla, this is 1964, Major Hector Quintanilla, called Burns to see if he could trip him up, but in a letter he said no details had changed and he did not sense any hoax or trick being played. Major Quintanilla was the last director of Blue Book and has received a reputation from UFO researchers of not taking investigations seriously, or that the Air Force was trying to bring Blue Book back to its dismissive roots instead of actually investigating.
He's like, you want to fight about it?
Basically. Whichever the case, no one had an explanation for what was happening in the valley. It talks about how Sergeant David Moody is one of Blue Book's top investigators. After the arrival at the airport, word spread that the military investigators were in town, specifically to investigate the reported landing. This is the way that he talks to the reporters early on. Like I said, one of the quotes from him is that this is an unusual sighting. If it was routine, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
So they had already, they'd already determined that this, whatever it was, this wasn't just some crazy guy making up a floating beehive.
Right. That is a hilariously sassy way to put it, though.
Yeah. Burns' sighting was on December 21st, 1964, but Blue Book didn't arrive until mid-January of 65. During those few weeks between the events, more sightings took place between Harrisonburg and Staunton, including a 10-year-old who claimed to see a metallic ship in the sky over Waynesboro, near where Burns' sighting happened. There was an excitement in the air when the sightings first started because this was something new to the area.
Finally.
Come to Lexington, check the news.
We got something new. I mean, last new thing here was that subway they put in.
And while that's still delicious, I ain't never had a meatball sandwich that ain't delicious from there yet. I want something new to spice up my day.
I wish something new would happen around here. I wish we had an alien to watch whilst we eat our Italian BMTs.
People must have felt like they were in some science fiction movie. The excitement didn't last long, however.
Don't die, Nate. Are they getting you? Are you spreading too many facts?
I think that's what's happening. I'm getting Havana syndrome.
Oh God, again.
Wear a mask, Nate.
Third time this week.
An article dated, well, 2 of them were self-inflicted. You can get fucked up on Havana syndrome. An article dated February 1st, 1965 from the Journal Herald newspaper in Dayton, Ohio says, quote, almost daily Virginians are reporting UFO sightings, and some claim to see Martians running around at night. A quote from Augusta County Sheriff John Kent, hey, Superman's dad, put it simply, this thing has gotten completely out of hand. Sightings were getting closer, and people, especially around Staunton, were concerned that local law enforcement was not enough to keep them and their families safe. Different newspapers from Augusta County and even Richmond referenced armed groups patrolling the roads looking for UFOs. And the Journal Herald even mentioned an encounter where a man dressed up as an alien for a joke and was almost shot by 3 people one night.
Yeah, don't fuck around. This is like when people were dressing up like clowns to scare people. It's like people will hesitate to shoot another person. They will not hesitate to shoot an evil clown.
No, or an alien for that matter. Also,
that's points on the board.
It's it says 3 people one night, which is probably 3 people that were like, like drunk hunting buddies. Hanging out on a porch with some binoculars or whatever. Yeah, but I really want it to be that it's 3 separate people and he's trying to escape all of them. Like the first guy starts shooting, he runs down a hill. There's another guy down there.
The first one he realizes it's a mistake, and the other 2 are just.
It's too late. He can't stop to take the costume off because.
Yeah, he needs someone to unzip him. Sir, please, can you unzip me?
What is that, alien man?
Yeah,
I don't understand though. Like, what are you going to do to the aliens that the cops can't do? Like, the cops are the best at brutalizing, no matter what decade we're talking about. What are you going to do?
Well, I mean,
and it happens all the time. Mob violence is makes you feel better because you're doing the violence.
Well, the answer is karate.
Karate.
Exactly.
That's how you say thank you in racist Japanese.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. While all of the sightings were going on, Blue Book was trying to keep a low profile as they investigated them. But they were finding that to be an almost impossible task. Reporters seemed to know where they were going to be at all times, and Moody was interviewed several times by different reporters. Every time he was interviewed, he assured everyone that there was nothing to fear, but that there was something strange going on. This was odd coming from Moody, who had a track record of immediately dismissing sightings and people. Something was different about this one.
He loved to dismiss people. You're not a person.
Show me some people credentials.
So while Blue Book investigators are scrambling to find answers, sightings keep happening. People, Virginians all over the place are catching sight of random UFOs. There's actually an interesting corroboration from the same night that Horace Burns saw the UFO in Fishersville. Officially, Blue Book says that he was the only person to have seen a UFO that night, but there actually was someone else who did. According to an article in the Times Dispatch dated January 14th, 1965, so Blue Book wouldn't have even been there investigating it. They should have known this. A 14-year-old Staunton High School student told a reporter that he saw a cigar-shaped UFO at around 4:50 p.m. on December 21st, roughly 20 minutes before Burns had his sighting.
Trying to one-up him?
Maybe, but I mean, he also saw a cigar-shaped UFO, which I guess if you saw it at the right angle,
no, did you see that
thing might have been a
I guess if you saw it at the right angle, but
that's like, I don't know. I think it might have even been two separate ships. Kenneth Norton Jr. said he saw the object outside of his bedroom window. He told his mom about the UFO, but his family told him not to say anything because they didn't want people to think he was crazy. Junior? You just shut your goddamn mouth.
Hey, keep it down. I got to be up at 3 a.m. I got to be at the plant.
But eventually, here's a quote from Kenneth Norton Jr. My mother let me call this evening because she thought maybe what I saw would verify Mr. Burns' story. Norton said the object was about 125 feet long, which is exactly what Burns said. Mm-hmm. Despite the fact that he saw it, horizontally, or he saw it vertically rather than horizontally. Mm-hmm. The article also states that Norton was a member of the Civil Air Patrol Cadets, and that even though he only saw the UFO for around 5 or 6 seconds, he did not see wings, a tail, or anything that moved that fast before.
It looks so fucking weird. The picture looks insane. The picture looks like a fucking dessert.
Yeah.
It looks like a weird blancmange or something.
Who's to say the aliens don't have delicious or technology based on deliciousness?
Quick, Gleep Glop. We have to take the cake ship to planet Yum Yum.
We're doing an Is It Cake challenge. They're winning the Great British Bake Off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Regional
By
radio
any means necessary.
Regional radio stations have had reports almost daily about new sightings, military movements, and interviews with witnesses. This is huge, and it's been going on for a while. Then in an interview, Professor Ernest Gaiman from Eastern Mennonite College, who took the Geiger counter readings, told a reporter with the Roanoke World News, I can't help feeling there's a prophetic significance to these sightings. It could possibly foretell the second coming of Christ.
All right.
That's what I'm talking about. Get these Christians out of here, start the rapture, then the fucktown begins.
Fucktown coming. Word spread.
The lost book of Fucktown. I like I'm a big fan of the alien, Jesus is an alien camp. That's a lot of fun. I think he was probably a guy, but I definitely like the people who are. It feels like
pretty sure that he's an extraterrestrial.
It feels like such a collision of beliefs. Well, they're like, okay, something strange is definitely happening. It has to be Jesus, or else I've believed in a lot of lies.
So what happens is word spreads from church to church, and others began foretelling of the apocalypse and that Jesus was coming to Augusta County.
Oh boy.
And they referenced scriptures from the New Testament to back up their claims.
Okay.
And then Jesus walked through the desert to get to Augusta, Virginia.
And lo, Jesus arrived in Augusta at the AM PM on the corner of Broadway and First.
Gas was at an all-time low.
And he had come to put an end to that bullshit.
As this was happening, a family of 6 witnessed a cigar-shaped aircraft near Staunton High School for several minutes.
There it goes.
And a woman near Harrisonburg reported a bright object in the sky that she said was following her.
Oh.
So people are seeing what I think we would consider pretty much all the classic types of UFOs.
It's all the hits, man. There's a regular hootenanny going on out there.
As panic spread, more and more sightings were reported north of Augusta County, and people must have felt like an invasion was happening. In a newspaper clipping from February 1965, it was suggested that the state police or National Guard be called in to calm people and protect them from the invaders from outer space.
Space invaders.
Moody
get my gun. Get my foil.
Ma, get my double-sided battle axe.
I'll help him with those zippers. Moody called for more agents to be sent from Wright-Patterson to help and investigate the new sightings, but then something odd happened. Quintanilla wrote to Moody about an incident, quote unquote, in Ohio between an unidentified flying ship and an Air Force fighter plane, and that Moody was to bring all agents back to Wright-Patterson. There were no records or incidents found about this, but it had to be a pretty important event. Sure. As the Blue Book agents began to leave, people demanded a final explanation. But get this, none was given.
Natch.
All the Air Force had to say was that there was nothing to be alarmed about, and they couldn't find any evidence of UFOs anywhere, despite the fact, of course, that I think hundreds of people now have witnessed flying objects or had strange encounters
everywhere. Yeah.
People were outraged because they felt like the military called everyone liars, and now they were running back to base. Blue Book was only in the valley for just over a month, but it was enough to leave a lasting impression. After the agents left, people continued to report sightings, but as spring arrived, fewer and fewer sightings were reported. Project Blue Book would quietly release a report about the Fishersville case, saying that they found no evidence of a UFO landing and that they recommended Horace Burns take a psychiatric test.
Nice. I mean, why not?
Well, you might as well. You might have ESP.
Right.
Always love it when the answer to I think I saw an alien is chill out, crazy boobs.
Yeah. Are you by chance hysterical?
Yeah.
There is, however, no mention of that ever happening. Nowhere do they say he was wrong or that the event was hoaxed. The case was quietly swept under the rug and they began working on other cases. People in the valley began losing interest in the stories about UFOs, and no longer did religious figures talk about the apocalypse coming to the area. Good on them. Stop freaking everybody out.
No, I think you should freak more people out. It's going to get freaky in Fucktown.
After reading countless reports, letters, and newspaper articles, it seemed like people just got tired of talking about it and went back to the weather. According to Project Blue Book, between December 64 and May of 65, there are almost 50 reported UFO sightings in the Shenandoah Valley, and Blue Book kept a few agents in the valley until the summer of 65. The incident was never investigated again or even brought up by any of the investigators or even by the UFO community.
Wow.
It's almost like people forgot about the Fishersville landing and the UFO scare altogether. That's the end of that article. But there's one that I've never heard of, and it feels like it should have been more well known.
Yeah, people like to stick on the big ones, your Rendlesham Forest, your Patterson Air Base, your Roswell, but that was a crazy fucking article.
Pretty fucking wild.
Yeah, and it's, I don't think that there's been a ton of UFO stuff by 64. I mean, like, people do know about it, but they consider you a crank if you have a sighting.
Yeah, for sure.
And this is an entire community, or several communities really, that are, full of people who are like, well, I saw it. What the heck?
And as accordance to society, they now call the town Crazy Town.
Crazy Town. Yes.
Well, then may I end this episode with a short little refresher on a gentleman we've talked about before, but have only mentioned in recent years. That's right, Spring Heeled Jack. What I'm talking about. And there's a reason for it, but first let's go into the long short of it from Wikipedia. Spring Heeled Jack is an entity of English folklore of the Victorian era. The first claimed sighting of Spring Heeled Jack was in 1837, and later sightings were reported all over the United Kingdom and were especially prevalent to the suburb London, the Midlands, and Scotland.
Naturally.
He got around.
Spring Heeled Jack was described by people who claim to have seen him as a terrifying and frightful appearance with diabolical physiognomy, clawed hands, and eyes that resembled red balls of fire. Many stories also mentioned a devil-like aspect. Others said he was tall and thin with the appearance of a gentleman. Several reports mentioned that he could breathe out blue and white flames, and that he wore sharp metallic claws on his fingertips. At least 2 people claimed he was able to speak comprehensible English.
I mean, he might have just been like from Whitechapel or something, and he's in a different part of London. Like,
yeah, and they were like, "What the hell is that?"
It's almost English.
I guess that can be considered English. I didn't understand what the fuck he said, but
he's Cockney rhyming.
And I'm going to be reading from a website that one of our Dark Council members shared with us. Thank you, Paranoid Cryptid shit. I can't remember anything. I'm thinking about Spring Heeled Jack. He's in my mind.
It's in there.
But thank you for sharing this on our Twitter. And I had another article that I need to find because it was awesome as well. And there it is. Thought catalog, actually. Okay, we're back. So the first sighting of Spring Heeled Jack occurred in 1937. After the original appearance, he popped up in Great Britain. Like I said, in the suburbs of the Midland. The last reported sighting supposedly was in Liverpool in 1904. And if you count those years up, according to this article written by one January Nelson, that's a made-up name.
Mm-hmm.
This means that for a long stretch of time, there were constant sightings that lasted 67 years.
Damn.
Indeed.
Yeah,
that's quite a reign of terror.
Out there spring healing.
Very much so.
You'd think his knees would get, pretty decrepit.
Well, it's all in the heels.
Some sightings in no true chronological order, sadly, because they just did not do it. And I refuse to scroll that much up and down. That's insane. He was sighted so many times during this period. In April and September, in 1877, Spring Heeled Jack was blamed for several centuries, reported being attacked by a figure with cold corpse-like hands, and bullets were fired upon him, which had no effect. Spring Heeled Jack is bulletproof.
He's corpse fingers, governor. Feel them inside you.
Have a look.
Spring Heeled Jack is bulletproof, we come to find out as the reports keep flooding in. One of the first reports is of a Jane Alsop. Yeah, Alsop. Believed to be one of the first victims of Spring Heeled Jack. She opened her front door one night to what she believed was a policeman, and instead found a figure wearing a helmet, a tight-fitting white cloth for clothes, and the figure's eyes burnt with fire, and he had a claw-like hand. The figure attacked her, but her screams alerted her sister, who ran in, and Jack leapt away in the darkness. He leaps like werewolves as well, like traditional Germanic werewolves. I think he was probably part of a few leaping parties for sure.
Mm-hmm.
He supposedly vomits flame as well. That same report has in it that Jane reported that she grabbed a candle. Okay, so the report goes that when she answered the door, Spring Heeled Jack claimed to be a policeman needing a light. So she grabbed the candle.
Policeman, could you light my cigarette?
Yeah, this is comprehensible English. Not fluent English, comprehensible English.
Just barely.
Oslop grabbed a candle, but upon handing it to the policeman, the figure threw off his cloak, revealing his eyes and a terrible mouth that vomited flames.
Boogity boogity.
And that's when she screamed. The sister came down, bingo to bingo. Mm-hmm. One of the last of this Spring Heeled Jack flaps occurred in November through December 1902, where countless people reported an unknown figure who would appear on the roads of a village and perform strange antics before vanishing, normally through leaping.
It just sounds like Los Angeles anytime. The antics.
The press claimed that several witnesses were left in nervous shock and blamed Spring Heeled Jack. A group of armed men started to patrol the roads, but it would appear that they failed to locate the figure.
Yeah, all we ended up finding was about 14, 15 pints.
Where'd you find those, officers? Is it perhaps some sort of strange hovel where Spring Heeled Jack may be holed up?
I was at the pub.
In 1980, or somewhere in the 1980s, there was supposedly a legend going around, a myth of a farmer capturing Spring Heeled Jack.
Got ya.
He was leaping over hedges and fences in the moonlight, as a Spring Heeled Jack will do. Look at their Pokédex. It's all there.
That's exactly what I'd be doing if I could leap.
And he was cornered by a farmer, and the farmer went to his deathbed. This is, of course, according to the legend, went to his deathbed, never revealing Spring Heeled Jack's identity.
Oh.
I was really kind of hoping there was going to be a hole he dug covered in fake grass and twigs. Like Spring Heeled Jack just landed in the wrong spot.
Here's one with a newspaper report to it in March of 23rd, March 1906. According to newspaper reports, a figure described as a Spring Heeled Jack type who acted in a ghost-like manner, scaring locals, was caught in a trap and given a sound thrashing.
They thrashed him with sound.
Yes. Gave him a good talking to is what that means.
I thought that was when you hire Anthrax to
I got the time to
play the East End.
Now, this goes back to one of the original ones. One of the biggest things that I do notice with all these reports is that you have the 1938 and kind of through the 40s and 50s series, and then the late 1800s. And the early ones all include fire.
Sure.
Right.
So 28th of February, 1938, an attack on Lucy Scales along a road was attributed to Spring Heeled Jack. Lucy was hit in the face with blue flame, which emerged from a cloaked figure who had stepped out in front of her.
What?
Oh,
Lucy's sister witnessed the attack, and her screams brought assistance. The attacker, described as a tall, thin gentleman, walked off carrying a lamp.
Oh, he was a gentleman.
He was a gentleman.
Pardon me, ma'am. Might I blast blue flame in your face?
You are from the aristocracy, so
it got so
Splendid.
bad after a series of attacks, particularly like that, to where there's either a fire-breathing demon or there's a mad alchemist out here creating phosphorus fire and just burning women with it.
Mm-hmm.
It had official recognition. The Lord Mayor of London, Sir John Cohen, revealed at a public session that an anonymous complaint he received days earlier, which he had withheld in hope of obtaining further information. And the correspondence who signed the letter was just signed as a resident of Peckham. And this is what that letter that the Lord Mayor officially recognized and said, we have ourselves a serious problem, it seems. The letter that the mayor read and revealed was, it appears that some individuals have laid a wager with a mischievous and foolhardy companion that he durst not take upon himself the task of visiting many of the villages near London in 3 different disguises, a ghost, a bear, and a devil. Moreover,
yeah, I've heard this one. It was like a pub bet, which is the stupidest pub bet of all time, where they were like, I'll bet you can't show up as a devil, a bear, and a ghost. I bet you can't do that. And he was like, well, you don't know me.
Moreover, that he will not enter a gentleman's garden for the purpose of alarming the inmates of the house. The wager has, however, been accepted, and the unmanly villain has succeeded in depriving 7 ladies of their senses, 2 of whom are not likely to recover, but to become burdens to their families.
What?
Come on.
He's literally scaring them stupid.
Startled her a little crazy. Gave her the old Ernest treatment. Scared her stupid.
At one house, the man rang the bell, and on the servant coming to the open door, this worse than brute stood in no less dreadful figure than a specter clad most perfectly. The consequence was that the poor girl immediately swooned, and as never from that moment been in her senses. 1800s English was some different grammar, huh?
Wackadoo.
The affair has now been going on for some time, and strange to say, the papers are still silent on that subject. The writer has reason to believe that they have the whole history at their finger ends, but that's what I'm calling them now.
Yeah.
But through interested motives are induced to remain silent.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it is to be noted that the Lord Mayor was skeptical of kind of the whole ability to transform and the devil and the more mystical properties of a Spring Heeled Jack.
He was like, now I don't know.
He did go, well, then what the fuck is this, people?
Yeah. It's a good question. If not
then
what the fuck is it? Yes, exactly.
And that wraps up kind of the bulk of the Spring Heeled Jack sightings. It was that 67, 68-ish period starting in 1938-ish, ending in 1904. And then out of nowhere, February 14th, 2012.
What?
In Stoneleigh.
Great grandson of Spring Heeled Jack.
Oh shit, the man is back.
Stoneleigh, then it says Surrey, road by Nescott College on the Ewell bypass. Maybe I said some of that right. A taxi driver and his 3 passengers watched a dark figure with no features dart across the road in front of them before then leaping 4.5 meters into the air to clear an embankment.
He's back, baby.
I mean, I guess that could just be somebody with a really, really excellent vertical.
Yeah, someone like Spring Heeled Jack.
Well, that's the only. I mean, you could be and I hate to say this in this way, but it could just be a normal shadow figure out by the road. It doesn't have to be Spring Heeled Jack.
I'm a huge Spring Heeled Jack head. Yeah, Spring Heeled Jack story is one of my favorites. I actually wrote a screenplay about Spring Heeled Jack.
You should share it if you can on the Discord.
I think I'm going to rewrite it.
People read it.
I think I'm going to rewrite it.
Pitch it to Paranormal WB.
It's kind of a Victorian superhero story. It's a lot of fun.
But that does it for my segment.
That does, go on.
I just want to say, when you picture Spring Heeled Jack, because I can't not picture the Hitcher Witch from Mighty Boosh, the guy that ends up singing the Eels Up Inside You song.
Yes. I picture sort of a weird, like, steampunk Batman almost, with like a white mask on that looks like a devil.
You know, I think truly Spring Heeled Jack is inside of all of us. I think he's you. I think he's me.
The real
that about everything.
I think he's in the hearts and smiles of every child you see on the road come winter time.
There you go. You heard it here first, folks.
Every time a basketball gets dunked, Spring Heeled Jack sees a victim.
Guys, thank you so much for listening to Werewolf Radar. What a fun episode. Please tell your friends about the show. Please check out our Patreon if you like what we did. Please check us out on twitch.tv/werewolf_radar. Check us out on Twitter. Check us out on Instagram, Threads, all over the place. Shout out to Chuck from Snappy Little Numbers for our intro and outro song. And shout out to you, the listener at home, working on your psychic powers and worrying about Spring Heeled Jack and also about underreported alien cake ships that are
you are the fourth Beatle. Everybody else.
Beatle. Exactly. Wait, I think there were four.
There were four.
Anyway.
But there's only three of us.
Yes, exactly. Until next time, as always, on the count of three, our sign-off line. 1, 2, 3. Punch
the sky, Spaceman Joe.